the Super Bowl. One last thought about overtime. It really was a new frontier for everybody in many different ways, up to and including people in the press box who shouldn't have been confused, but were confused about what would happen when the initial 15-minute period trickled down to zero, as the Chiefs were showing no sense of urgency to try to get plays off as that first period came close to expiring. And as we know, or at least as we should know, they just would have gone to the other end and kept going. It wouldn't have ended the game. And the part of me that really loves chaos as it relates to crazy things that can happen on a football field or within a football team or anything related to the sport that we love, because it's always fun to see something happen that we didn't expect and see how they pick up the pieces. If that clock had gone to zero, there would have been 49ers fans that would have been under the impression that they'd won. There might have been players celebrating prematurely on the field thinking they'd won. And if the person with his or her finger on the confetti cannon had pressed that button, it just could have gotten weird. It could have gotten weird, and it came close to that happening. But again, because it's all so new, it really is impossible to know with certainty whether or not the 49ers did the right thing or whether or not the Chiefs would have done the right thing if they had won the coin toss in overtime. We know by now the 49ers had predetermined that they wanted the ball. The Chiefs had predetermined that they wanted to kick. And the analytics are really, really, really close on this. And again, there's only one data point, the game that happened last Sunday. So the analytics won't be really close the next time because the one data point says if you take the ball, you lose. But because the analytics are close and because both sides had deferred extensively to what their analytics people decided, it reinforces a point I made last week. Very difficult to go against the analytics crowd in your building. And, when we think of analytics, it's not that there's one big consensus as to what teams should do in any given spot, except for ESPN analytics, which always say, go for it, no matter what. Every time they put that bug up, ESPN analytics say, go. For every team, there's a unique group of individuals who have their own proprietary algorithms that they use for those situations. And in San Francisco, the recommendation was take the ball. In Kansas City, the recommendation was kick the ball. And the reality here is, as I said last week, if you're going to go against your in-house analytics people, you are taking a very real risk that if it doesn't work out, those same people are going to be chattering, whispering, talking about you behind your back to ownership or other people of influence within the organization. If you go along with them, yeah, you might get some criticism from the outside, but those people don't have the power to get ownership to think of you differently. Why do we have these analytics people if you're not going to take their advice? Why did you go against it? Explain this to me again. Are you sure you did the right thing? And again, even if somebody doesn't get fired over it, it's still one of those moments where the boss views you differently. The boss maybe loses a little respect for your decision-making process because you went against the people who are on the payroll to come up with these recommendations. So I understand why 49ers had their decision predetermined and the Chiefs had theirs predetermined. The analytics people, after they crunched the numbers under their own individual unique formulas, decided that's what they should do. And with no clear anecdotal evidence, nothing, just all theory and hypothetical to push back against the in-house determination, not a surprise that the 49ers did what they had planned to do, not a surprise that the Chiefs had their plan made. And there's one last little thing that I want to throw out there. Somebody emailed over the weekend, and I like this idea. And maybe we'll see it at some point, but the question could be not all that relevant because we may not see many of these overtime periods in postseason games. But one possibility that I didn't see discussed much last week: choose to kick and do an onside kick. Choose to kick and kick it onside. Do the surprise onside kick like we saw from Sean Payton and the Saints in Super Bowl 44. If you don't get it, I mean, and the 49ers could have defended that. Hey, our defense was gassed, so let's just go ahead and give them a short field. We assume they're going to score anyway. We want to know what they scored. We want to know what they did, and we want to play 4-down football after they played 3-down football. And you factor in the chance of recovering a surprise onside kick, and I don't want to hear anything about the percentages of recovering onside kicks under today's rules, because 99.999% of the onside kicks that happen are expected. What is the success rate of a surprise onside kick under the current rules? And the reality is surprise onside kicks happen so infrequently, you're not going to have reliable predictors of whether or not it would have worked. Surprise onside kick, if you get it, all you need is a field goal at that point because the other team has had the opportunity to possess. It's sudden death if you recover it. If the other side gets it, all right, they go score. Go score. And then we'll have a chance to match it or beat it. So it's just another way to think about it. Everyone's tried to be very creative. The one thing I hadn't seen this week, and I didn't think of it myself, it was because I read my emails, and I encourage folks to email me, Florio at profootballtalk.com, any ideas they have about anything, because some of them are good. Most of them, well, let's just say sometimes you got to kiss a lot of frogs before one of these emails turns into a prince. But this was a good one because surprise onside kick is something we need to be thinking of the next time this happens. And aren't we all going to be rooting for more postseason overtime just so we can see this play out? Each game can be a case study, postseason overtime with this guarantee that both teams will get the ball in that extra session. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.